use that one.
I don't use podium mics.
Oh, did you hear that?
Bruce just said that he doesn't use podium mics.
Ooh, I guess that's a pretty controversial statement, I guess.
It is now.
Snap. Exactly. It's hard to move around with the whole goddamn podium, carrying it around.
You know what I don't like about this?
What?
I can't see the slide.
Yeah, so here's the deal. First of all, welcome to ShmooCon. Woo! If you're sitting in the front couple of rows, you're going to look at us.
Really like us.
If you're sitting in the back, you can see the screens. Thank you. I know I'm beautiful. I'm a confident man. I smell good. Man, that broke me right off the bat. I think we're going to end up having them pull a few rows of chairs here to try to make sure that you're not sitting up front too close and not able to see anything, so we apologize for that today.
Throwing distance.
Yeah, and it'll actually keep the shmoo balls farther away, which I'm totally okay with, so damn. So anyway, are you ready to get cruising with this? What? Oh, Ted's here. We found Ted. Everybody say hi to Ted. Ted has been helping us in filming ShmooCon and a lot of other conferences for many, many years. Almost the beginning. Ted drives from California. I think my fondest Ted story was when he told me on one of the trips that he had cruise control installed in his car. And I was like, wow, how'd you install that? He's like, well, I got this stick, see? And I cut a notch that says 55, 65, and 75. And then I just prop it underneath the dashboard, and I have cruise control. Awesome. Ted is resourceful. I like Ted a lot. He is a good man. Can you all hear me in the back? Thumbs up. Excellent. I'm Bruce. This is Heidi. Heidi organizes and runs ShmooCon. This is her shtick. I'm the hired gun, and coincidentally also her husband. We are streaming this live to some do we have any idea how many people are watching?
2.
Not 69 indeed. Thank you. It's the way the day is going to go. So we don't have anything in the talk about the badges. So I just wanted to clarify a few things. So your badge. Take mine off. Speaking of smelling good, so your badge is a bicycle. How many people have broken their badge in some way so far? That's not bad. So when we were designing these initially and I was handing them to Heidi and my kids to try to put them together, the failure rate was almost 100%. So, and that was just putting them together. There was also some confusion, the fact that maybe the fourth piece was an epic troll. It was actually, as it turns out, just a spare. So if you're trying to figure out how to make that peg stay in that really giant hole, is literally a spare because we had pegs break like nonstop. Oh, and I have a radio on my butt. Whoa. So anyway, wrong, right? That made it louder. So we're going to go through, do a little kickoff. It'll be a little bit different than years past. How many people, this is your first ShmooCon? Wow, that's really good. That is outstanding. So, clearly the ticket sales process is biased to people that have been here before. But no, feeding the trolls early. ShmooCon's canceled. Yeah, and for the newbies in the community, if you see like quotes like "conference name is canceled," it's just an ongoing joke since like the days of BBS. Like it is actually. And then like every once in a while, a con will get canceled. People are like, that's funny. No, really. And like, how do you proof it's pretty amusing. We're gonna keep the same format.
Then it gets uncanceled?
Then it gets, yes. And they have been uncanceled before too. But we're going to keep the same talk format as years past, and just to give you a flavor of what we think about this. You can sit through talks for 3 days, and you'll learn a lot, but a couple things happen. One, you get kind of bored. I fall asleep a lot. Like, I actually think I have some sort of medical condition that I cannot stay awake sitting down for more than about 10 minutes. So for Friday night, for people like myself, we keep talks very short. So it'll be plenary in this room. Everybody sits around 20 minutes. Shepherds hook people off stage if they run long, and then we'll finish it up with the keynote. Saturday, we split it up so that, we've got 3 separate tracks, and then Sunday, 3 tracks, and we bring the whole thing together. We've used this format for a long time. Almost since the beginning of the con. It's worked out pretty well. That said, I think one of the things that we've held true about ShmooCon in general is that, hey, if things are working right, maybe we should try doing it differently. And I mean that from the sense of innovation. Like you can get into a rut, you can get into, kind of doing the same thing over and over. And while it feels like you're making progress, maybe that's not the thing that's needed. So we felt after review like we're still going to stick with this. We think one track mind in these talks, in general, this format has merit. But again, we're always open to feedback, Twitter, email, whatever. We'll be happy to talk about it. So yes.
That's wrong.
Oh, what's wrong? Oh, the rooms are totally wrong. These are slides from last year. So,
But I did edit them, sort of.
sort of. Okay, so what's in this room?
This is One Track Mind and Bring It On. One Track Mind and Bring It On. Okay, let's see if we can do this. That will be Belay It. Oh, over there. And Bring It On is on the other side.
Nope.
No.
You screwed it up too.
Build It.
Build It will be on the other side. It's in your programs, yeah. If you weren't watching, and for the live stream people, just go to the website because there's links, T-shirt charities, or just read the goddamn signs. So for those that don't know, we ShmooCon. We don't run this to make money, right? We're a pretty large conference, and oftentimes people are very confused about that. Like I have a day job that I do that isn't this. Heidi does this. Sometimes I do my day job. You got to ask the people to work for me. But Heidi does this, but she also raises her kids and is home and doing lots of other stuff. And at the end of the day, this is something that we do for fun, and we like to give back as much of this process to the community as we can. So the first example today, the T-shirt charities. So for those of you that haven't been here before, you come to conferences, you can buy T-shirts. It's fun, it's neat, and the money usually goes to the conference organizers or something like that. For us, you give us, we give the conference all the T-shirts as a donation. Then you buy the T-shirts or donate money to the T-shirt charities for $15, and you get a little token. And for that token, you can drop it into a bucket for EFF, Hackers for Charity,
And this year,
World Bicycle Relief. So you choose where you want your $15 to go. So we don't get that money. That goes straight to one of those three charities. So you're actually donating to charity every time you get a T-shirt. So that's worked out. Done this for a long, long time. It's worked out very well.
The other super secret advantage of this is that I'm technically selling nothing in DC because I am giving you the T-shirt for free.
Yeah. Anybody been following the donation for weed brownies epic thing in D.C.? For those that haven't, there's an organization that, this is true, has weed brownies, and if you donate, you will get a weed brownie. But they're not selling the weed brownies, so everything's A-okay. It's a thing. They have cars, like with all the emblazoned on the side of it, and that's where we got the idea. The weed brownie guy in the corner. Yeah, we'll do that next year. We'll move to Colorado and do a weed for charities. Yeah, that sounds great. Then I won't feel so bad about it. Sales will start at 3:00. There's other goings on. There's a lot of contests. Barcode, Schmarcode, Hack Fortress. They're all down the hallway at registration.
And in your program.
And in your program. We don't want to spend a lot of time talking about that, but part of, again, if this is your first time, there's a lot of things that happen inside these rooms, but there's an awful lot that happen down in those hallways, so be sure to go check it all out. Saturday night party, for the third year in a row, we're staying put. Okay, there's no more going around DC. It's open, 21 and over though, right? No, all ages, but there will, in the bar we host, I should pay more attention to these things. So, you want to?
Read the slide.
Oh, I could read the slides. Oh, there's drink tickets for mixed drinks. We'll hand it out at the door. Open bar. Yeah, so it's an open bar. It's a goddamn big check. Like when he used to be like, as much beer as you want to drink. That's a bold statement with 5 people, right? Like with several thousand people, it's a huge thing. So, but we do have comedy this year to kick it off.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Do you want to sing? No.
Do I want to sing?
No. Yeah. Do you want to sing?
No.
She's really bad at singing. Just being honest here. It's transparency. Yeah, it is comedy. So we're going to have 3 stand-up comics from our community. And so again, the people are in your program, their bios and everything.
Should we call them out? We'll call them out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are having Thor.
Thor.
We'll start with Thor. Thor is actually one of our staff members who is not here or hiding. There he is.
Hey.
Oh, the stand-up stands up. So he'll be doing, 10 minutes. We've got Jason Blanchard, who works for Sands. He's in here probably at the booth working the Sands stuff. He's the one with the crazy pictures. If you guys look at the swag inside your bags, he's got like 7 pictures of him on
Save his job, yeah.
Yeah, save his job. I don't know. Anyway, so he's going to do a 10-minute gig. And then we got Mad Max, Carlo, doing some comedy for us, too. So it should be exciting. That's going to be followed by our wonderful DJs, Sec Barbie and Keith Myers. So
Keith will be here.
he's not coming? Who is hopefully coming?
If you've never partied with Keith Myers, this is your opportunity. You've never partied, right? Keith is the rock star DJ hacker, right?
Matt, there may be Keith DJing later. I'm not sure. Okay, just so
Matt's got a little bit of starstruck for Keith. Keith owns Lambos and DJs and hacks things. Keith's a good guy. Okay. Next, Schmooze student. So this is something we've done now for a while. We got a lot of feedback a few years ago about, hey, can you make it easier for students to come? Like, there needs to be more outreach. And to be clear, prior to that, we'd actually have a fair participation from the service academies, West Point.
Which we still do. There
should
be 40 people from West Point here. We've got people from Naval Academy as well.
Go Army.
So, they'll be quiet. They're like...
Yeah. I thought there'd be more than that.
See this yellow line down the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Sorry. So after, we got some feedback, said, hey, can you make it easier to get students in? And the feedback from the students is like, A, it's hard to get a ticket, which is like, yeah, no shit. But also, it's expensive, right? Like, DC's not cheap. Like, if you're going to go to a conference in, like, Omaha, like, I presume hotels in Omaha are not nearly as expensive as Central DC. I'm not trying to diss Omaha, but I kind of am. And so students are like, man, getting to DC is expensive, staying in DC is expensive, then I got to pay for the ticket, and I'm eating ramen every day, and if I don't eat ramen for like April, I guess I could make it. And so what we decided to do was have this system where people can basically schmooze a student, which is not nearly as sexual as it sounds, and what? They're mostly college age. So...
It was 18 and over this year.
Was it really 18 and over? Oh, okay. And so they buy their own ticket. They buy the ticket of the attendee, and then they throw an extra $100 on top of that goes as a stipend.
Right, and we match that $100.
We match that for $200.
So it gets better. It gets better. So this is our 3rd year. Both the 1st year and 2nd year that we did this, we opened 25 spots for students and schmoozers and actually met that both years, but didn't go over. This year, we got 43 applications for students, and I accepted every single one of them, with only 25 schmoozers. So thank you to the schmoozers. The rest of the students are here on ShmooCon, and there are a lot of them. If you feel comfortable and want to, if you're a student on the Schmooze a Student program, raise your hand. None of them want to. I see some of them do. If you schmoozed a student, you want to raise your hand? All you schmoozers out there, so yay. Awesome job.
So, this works out pretty well, and I think it's obviously the feedback's been really positive across the board. At some point, we will have to limit, we can't just, because we'll get in a few years, or we could sell out the whole conference or something to students, but for free. But look for this to continue, and again, if you have ideas on other ways that we can help outreach like that, that'd be great. Proceedings. So, for the last 2 years, when you submitted a talk to ShmooCon, we said, hey, would you be interested in contributing to a proceedings? And the overwhelming response was absolutely. So our general feeling is, I hate watching YouTube videos to learn stuff, right? Like, it is painful. Like, oh, there was a great talk at Random Conference X. You should go watch it. Like, no, I'm not going to watch it. Like, I am actually happier not knowing it, because I don't want to sit there for an hour and watch people like me yap at me. I can't deal with it. So, I know, it's really, honestly, like, I really struggle with this kind of thing. So we're like, but really there needs to be a way for knowledge to be passed along in a more kind of concrete and conventional way. And so proceedings is a, kind of standard issue way. Like, you write a little paper, it gets published, and then you can cite it. Citing YouTube videos kind of feels stupid, but I see people do it all the time, like citation. That really crazy guy on YouTube that swore all the time. So what we decided to do is have them submit. we're going to pull it together and then publish these proceedings. It turns out that takes a lot of work. You have to edit it, you have to curate everything, get it all together, you have to actually do the publishing, get the ISBN number, all that kind of stuff. And it took us 2 years to get it all done. But we got 2 years done, so we got 14 and 15 available now online. So you can go to the website, you can download the proceedings, and look at your program. So,
our goal is to get 2016 out just in by the end of March, really.
Yeah.
So
and thank you to all the speakers. I know from having been on the other side of that, it can be a frustrating thing to do that kind of work and then not see your fruits realized. And we appreciate you being kind of part of that guinea pig process. It meant a lot to us, and you have our kind of maybe apologies for having it taken so long. So thank you.
And we need to thank James Arlen and Rob Fuller, too, because they put a lot of work into helping us put this together. I don't know if they're in the room, but...
Rob's around.
They're awesome.
Yay, thanks. It's like the State of the Union. Can some of you stand up while others of you scowl? Thank you.
And then we have the people that don't clap.
Who wants to be Paul Ryan? You can come stand behind me. Be Paul Ryan. Come up and be Paul Ryan. What's your name, sir? Skylar. Skylar's now Paul Ryan. You have Skylar's business. Just put the seat there and kind of look grumpy, okay? Hey, who wants to be Biden? Who is a cheery enough dude? You are cheery. Come up, Renderman will be Biden. All right, here we go. But Biden has a monkey. Yes, It's called the state of Delaware. All right, there we go. Well, this is feeling much more official. Who's Trump? All right. So as a story, Jason Blanchard, one of the guys doing stand-up, lives just across the river from us, and because that sounds awfully homey, right? Back in the prairie, and lives across the river. And he was doing stand-up at the bar downtown, so we went to go watch to make sure that we hadn't made a grave error in inviting him to do stand-up. And Jason's dad's there, and Jason's dad is built like a proverbial brick shit house, tattoos, really, he looks like a pretty serious dude. And so this comic gets up about halfway through the thing, and he opens up with a Trump joke. And Jason's dad's in there going, watch it. And this guy, this is a little tiny dude doing this stand-up act, and the room's about the size of this stage, right? So it's not like I'm talking to this big audience and there's one guy. This guy, Jason's dad could have reached out and ripped this guy's throat out. And so he starts out with a second Trump joke, another throat-clearing incident from Jason's dad, and then he just stood there for a second, and then just took a left turn and went some totally other direction. And I'm like, I think it just ruined his entire act. He was going to tell 10 minutes of Trump jokes, and he couldn't do it because he was afraid of dying. So... anyway, we don't have a lot of material, so I'm going to tell other people's material. So, friendly warnings. So please be respectful of the hotel staff, the other hotel guests, each other, that kind of thing. There's a write up in the program about, in general how we feel about these things. But we would like you to, be awesome to each other, be awesome to other people that are here. There's another conference going on here. The AFL-CIO's got something going on all the way till Monday. So for some of you, I hear parking might have been difficult. Sorry. Some of you may have just sold your car on Connecticut Avenue for $20. Scribbled a thing. Valet? Parking. Oh, and this year you will not get a parking ticket in the sense that you'll get a thing to get out of the garage. You may still get a parking ticket, but that's your own problem. When you leave the garage, you just tell them you were ShmooCon and you'll get the discount. So it's streamlined, it's simple. You don't have to come to registration or anything like that. So you also have to wear your badges at all time, assuming they don't break. There are, just to go back to the badges, there are limited replacements, extras for, there's only wheels left?
Well, no, I'm just saying, we're not, just, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we said enough about that. Don't break your damn badge. That was what I heard. I've got some bubble wrap that you can carefully place it in.
We are not replacing the main part.
Well, okay.
Unless...
So they brought all the pieces back.
Yes.
So if you break the main badge, if you bring all the pieces back, so you can't like split it and spend both halves of the dollar or some stupid shit like that. We have a few extras there as well, but not a lot. So please try to be kind. Has anyone broken their badge while they've been sitting here? Oh, one dude, he's like, yeah, actually. Man, this is going to be a short conference. By Sunday, people are like, I don't have anything to get in. Like, be 3 people in here on Sunday, which will actually be more than normal. Streaming video. Yeah, they are. He is serious about this job. God bless Paul Ryan. Yeah,
You need to switch sides, I think, so that
switch. Oh, okay, yeah.
both sides can experience the joy.
I don't buy that Render Man is Paul Ryan. Like, I'm sorry, I can't.
Me crying right now.
Oh, this kid's pretty good. So we're streaming video again and selling DVDs. Ted's going to be selling DVDs right at the end of this hallway here. So if you get a chance, stop by. If you like what Ted does, he's been supporting us for a long time. Please buy his DVDs. Ted rocks. Just another round of applause. Yay, Ted! Wow, this is getting good. You can't watch the stream from the conference, so we don't have like DEF CON TV or anything like that, unfortunately. So if you want to go upstairs and stream off your phone, like that's totally cool. But some announcements. This is kind of sad.
Yeah, this actually isn't the funny part. How many people knew Rants? Quite a few people, really? See hands in the back? For those of you that don't know, the hacker community lost a amazing member of our family this last Friday to cancer, and it's been a really rough week.
Cancer.
Fuck cancer.
Exactly. So for those of you that did know him, just a few quick announcements. We have an iPod Touch up at registration. We originally intended to record messages on it and send to Rants. Unfortunately, that he didn't make it long enough for us to do that. But we are going to record some messages and send them to his father. So if you would like to record a message for his family, you can come to registration and we'll do that there. And Saturday, right after the main talks end in the Buffett room, I'll be opening up that room for about an hour for folks to gather if they want to and just share memories and stories of Rants and the others we've lost this past year. So that's all I'm going to say about
We'll miss you, Rants. You can applaud. It's okay. All right, to shift gears and get into rant territory.
No, let's talk about why we wanted to do this.
Why we wanted to do what?
Why we wanted to do this.
What, do which? What?
Nothing, go ahead.
No, what? So, I was going to say, I got an eye roll and everything. So here's the deal. In years past, we've been pretty pedantic about the opening, and we've gone through everything, and whatever. You all can read. I mean, at least 98% of you. And everything's in your program. The program, I think, is really first rate this year. It's really nice. It's got a lot of great information in it, so read it. What we want to do is talk more in general about our philosophy of why we run the con, how we run the con. And some of this came to pass this year because of the excitement around the round 2 ticket sales. And there was an awful lot of feedback from the community, questions being asked that we've answered in years prior in our Own the Con talk when we kind of give all the transparency about it. Here's all the financials, here's all the statistics and that kind of thing. But aren't really front and center in kind of the ShmooCon website and the ShmooCon ethos and beyond that. It's just new people in the community that don't know why we started ShmooCon, the way that we feel about the community, why we have certain policies and things like that. So rather than just put all that and relegate it to Own the Con, we're going to talk at a macro level about some of the philosophy issues about it. Own the Con's still going to happen tomorrow. It'll still have all the details and the numbers and all that if you want to come for that. But for now, or watch it later. I mean, it'll be. We do talk to an empty room all the time. It's like talking to our children. Oh, they're good. So video and picture policy. This is becoming an increasingly rare animal, but we have a video and picture policy, and we try to, as best we can, police it. I think one of the reasons that we have it, and we've held on to it in the face of other conferences, frankly, dropping their policies, is that in the face of ubiquitous cameras everywhere, everybody's got a smartphone. Yeah, X has got that camera and all the hidden ones. Who X can take photos of me? Well, he does on every Saturday night anyway. So. we get really, we've given up a lot of our personal privacy as society's evolved, right? And I think that, I know personally, I've struggled with that a lot, and what the definition of personal privacy is in the day and age of social media and ubiquitous phones and things like that. But at the same token, we've kept a lot of those social issues outside these walls. And this conference has been focused on a lot of technology issues. If you want to debate some of the finer points around privacy or, left-wing or right-wing, societal issues or whatever, there's other events that you can go to and discuss that, and we've kept that kind of at length. But that said, we've held a pretty hard line around things about trying to protect your personal privacy as best we can when you're here. So even as those concepts have evolved, even as we've become more accepting of everything being recorded and we're in every database and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't mean that you have to go quietly into that. So one of our general tenets is we do what we can to protect your privacy, but then it's also on you to do what you can to protect it yourself, right? Privacy is a two-way street, and you should hold people accountable to protect it, but you also need to look out for yourself. So, to that end, we have a picture policy that's quite simple. If you take a picture, everyone in the frame needs to agree to have the picture taken. I assure you, panning shots of the stage or of the audience, not everybody agrees. So we don't allow picture taking in these rooms at all, except for our official photogs who know the drill. So we've got Carson, and then Dan is running around somewhere. So they're wearing ShmooCon staff shirts. They have giant lenses. But they still follow the same rules, and they may periodically snap a photo that has people out of frame and then either delete it or edit it out or whatever. They're cognizant, and we've briefed them, and they know kind of what we expect. So we're going to continue to hold this policy. I think we feel it's important. It may be odd, it may be different for you. Please respect it. We will try to enforce it. If we see you taking lots of photos, we'll ask you to stop. If you can't stop, we're going to ask you to leave. So it's not complicated. It's pretty simple. Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, if they don't like that, they're not going to like the rest of this. Ticket sales. So we limit ticket sales. I don't know if you noticed. So it keeps the con manageable for everyone. Like we would, not even joking, like there's limits to what we can do ourselves as individuals with like jobs and garages and shit. Do you know how many pallets will fit in my garage right now? 6. That's it. Like if I get more than 6 pallets of stuff, it sits outside. Hey, hope you don't mind your stuff getting wet. And that's just the garage. Like by 3 days before the con, our house is a maze. Like you walk in the door and you're met with you've entered a maze. Go north. Nope. Go east. Okay. And it's a text adventure just to get to the dining room. So Jason Scott shouldn't have been in here because that was really funny kind of text adventure humor. Anyway, but it's also not manageable for you when it gets really large. You go to really large events, you go to big commercial events, you don't see the people you want to see, you don't get to see the content, you don't get to, you get lost, you're just getting buffered around by people as they go around you. I don't enjoy that, and I know a lot of people struggle with social anxiety things and other issues and wanting to be out in public. You get to these big events, it's very hard to get motivated to go out and put up with that kind of thing. So we want to keep it this size. I think we're happy with this size. In general, I think the people that make it in are happy with this size. The people that don't make it in aren't happy with this size. And, it's just the way it is. You can go to live stream. And we put a lot of effort and energy and money and time into streaming this so people can learn. And I get that you don't get hallway con and you don't get to interact with all the vendors when you're not here, but we still feel it's pretty important to limit the size. We sell the tickets ourselves, right? We run the ticketing software. We run the new landing page thing. We clear the transactions. We have a merchant account, all that kind of stuff. We do it ourselves. And there was an awful lot of pushback this year of just use Eventbrite or just use whatever vendor that's out there. That's a shitty answer.
What's more exciting about that is when you actually call Eventbrite and other ticketing companies. I just got turned up. Can you hear me now? When you call those companies, and you get interesting answers like, what did they call us? We got called, they said something like, wow, that's epic.
Yeah, people are like, well, we've never seen that before. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want to be the unique unicorn in your customer list. And actually, and in fairness, Eventbrite, we did talk with them, and they were willing to work with us. Like, hey, we're still going to keep track of these people. But we can not market to them, so you won't get spam about like events and things like that.
I didn't explain that part yet, but
What?
You didn't explain quite that part yet.
Oh, okay. Well, so we went to Eventbrite because we were basically up against a wall on ticket sales this year. So for ticket sales, an interesting thing happened. We ran our own CMS for years. That was our website, right? And it was written by, is Rugburn here? Right here. So Rug wrote it. He wrote a full-blown CMS. So Godspeed, little doodle. That was awesome that you were able to pull that off. But you can applaud, but wait for the punchline. The CMS had some weird little characteristics. Like sometimes when you would edit a page and you would hit enter in the wrong field, it would save and delete the page. And we would go to archive.org to recover the page. It's funny now, but I assure you it wasn't funny at the time. And this happened a lot, We're like, oh my God. And then like Heidi would be trying to post the links for the sales process to the webpage, and like she'd hit submit, it'd be like, oh, you've been logged out. We're like, oh God. And then everyone's like, it's noon. It's noon. Like, where's my link? It's noon. And people are posting on Twitter. So I am being, Rog, am I being mean to you? Not use you? So, but the thing is, it was wicked fast, right? Because we get like 3,000 requests a second at the peak of this thing when people are coming like, where's my link? Where's my link? And he wrote a CMS that could put up with it. To give you an idea of what WordPress will do on a pretty beefy box, we're talking... Yeah, we tested that for you. You'll get like 100 or 110 connections a second on a WordPress site before it falls the hell over. Hard. That's gooey and gross. So on the first round, we used actually WordPress.com. We moved the whole CMS over. So we still had our own back-end systems to sell the tickets, and we moved stuff to WordPress.com. Yeah, like you just use WordPress. Like we don't need to maintain the WordPress installation because there's a lot of WordPress vulnerabilities. Not sure if you've noticed that. And it's a pain in the butt to like do system administration on things that are constantly, and we only need periodically. So we went to WordPress.com, and they handled the load epically, no problem. Except they have like a CDN that lives in front of everything, and we had people in our house that we hit publish. And I saw the link, and Heidi saw the link, and the other person didn't see the link, and the other person didn't see the link. They would start a new browser. They would start private sessions. They didn't see the link for 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes before it popped up. So it's not like an IP-based thing. Like, I have no idea what the discriminator was, but when you start a fresh browser set, one person, like, rebooted the box. Nope, still don't see it. Wow. So at that, we felt pretty bad. I mean, because it's a lousy experience for you all, and it causes churn, and it's not good. So we were like, well, we can't do that. And WordPress clearly isn't going to change their CDN for us, right? Like, they don't even have like voice support. You give them money, and you get to email them, and that's it. So I'm not going to have an email dialogue with WordPress about this. So we went to a hosted WordPress provider, and I said, hey, look, we're going to see like, I don't know, several thousand connections a second. Can you handle this load? They're like, oh, yeah, no problem. So then that passed, and we ended up, actually, they were... 2 minutes before sales started. Yeah, it was before sales started. The 503 started flowing out. And what was interesting, first of all, so we use WP Engine, the company, to host it now, and they were super responsive, to be fair. Like, they were like, we've never seen anything like this before. I'm like, awesome! But they immediately put us on a bigger instance, like within 5 minutes. But 5 minutes is too long for ShmooCon ticket sales, right? Because we're already, like, everybody's freaking out.
Like 3 years altogether.
Yeah. So we were like, forget it, we'll back off and we'll test this. And so they have a much larger instance. It's actually 3 servers, a whole CDN in front of that with reverse proxies in front of that. And it was kind of interesting because we crowdsourced
They loved that.
a couple of load tests. And they were like, we've never seen anyone crowdsource a load test before. I'm like, well, you could go piss people off on IRC if you want. Like, that's a good way to make it happen. So we crowdsourced this load test, and it pushed over this bigger instance. And this is only maybe about a quarter of the normal traffic that we would see on registration days. Now, there's some interesting things. Some of you had figured out how to get past the proxy in front of the web server, right? So the proxy's not going to serve dynamic content, so people just start adding random queries to the page that the server is going to ignore. But the proxy is going to be like, I don't know what this thing is. It must go to origin, and it would punt it to the origin server. So like one dude sent like 300 requests a second and pushed over all the origin servers. Like, me, I'm like, good gold star. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. So we decided, we had kind of a sit down and like, okay, do we outsource this or not? and we came back to the whole thing, like, if we outsource this, we're basically selling your data to somebody else, right? Like, when we get done with this, we don't want to know who you are when you show up. We don't really want to know who you are when you pay. You kind of have to for like refunds and things like that. But really, short of like accepting Bitcoin or something, there's really no way for us to do it completely anonymously, but we try to be as anonymous as we possible in this process. And nobody that we pay money to do this for is going to be as anonymous as we are. So we're like, forget it, we're going to do it ourselves. So we stood up a static landing page in AWS. It took an M4 extra large, by the way, to handle this, to give you an idea of...
And we brought in outside talent.
Yeah, and we brought in outside talent. We terraformed up some servers, which sounds really exciting, but it's pretty geeky. And so we load tested it, and it ran fine, but it was literally just a static HTML page on an M4 extra large running Nginx that we just manually moved go here for the next page when the thing went live. So that's as complicated as it got, and then we went to our back-end ticketing system, and that worked just as well as it had in the past.
When it worked, did people get angry?
Yeah. Oh, then they're like, oh, then it's unfair. Like, wait, no. So... we have some requirements. We want to maintain your privacy. We want to minimize costs. Like, we could have made WordPress work, but we would have spent $10,000 doing it, right? Like the epic Moose cluster. Anyone remember the Moose cluster? Yes. Yeah. That was like 7 desktops that we like literally hammered into a rack with a couple of 2U servers on it, hundreds of hours of labor to want to ever be favoring one group or another. And that can be favoring people with faster internet connections or more credit cards or the ability to script and not script and that kind of thing. And so... there's a bunch of things that we do. Like, we seriously review every single round manually before we let people pay for their tickets, right? It's this 2-step process. You get your code, you come back in an hour and a half, and you pay for it. You know what's happening in between that time? We're looking at the logs. We look at everything, trying to figure out by IP address, by email, by whatever criteria we can look at, user agent, whatever, does it look like there are shenanigans? And we get called out, oh man, there must have been a bot. I'm like, no, there's literally like 4,000 living human beings hitting F5. Like, this is not a bot. This is and there are bots in there, but our little Apache thing slows them down. We got other stuff that slows them down, and it works pretty damn well. So, we feel like, first of all, we're trying to be good stewards of this process, and we spend time and energy reconstructing what happened. We look at alternate systems like a lottery. Like, okay, a lottery's great. It's like, just do a lottery. Just pull it randomly. Okay, well, how do you buy a ticket? Like, what constitutes a ticket? And, per email address? Let's write a script to see who can make the most email addresses in the next hour. Go! Buy a ticket for $1? Okay, a couple things. One, that's biased toward people that have money, lots of credit cards, whatever. Requires us to track what credit card you paid with. Maybe say you can only buy with one credit card. So students and people like that are going to be kind of pushed out of that game. And also... card processors, especially in our model, when we only sell tickets like 3 days a year, get really grumpy about lots of little microtransactions then. So our fee structure would probably change because they're like, well, you're doing all these weird things. I don't like it. And we already got thrown off one card processor this year. And it wasn't because we did anything bad. They're just like, we don't do single day or single weekend kind of events anymore. We'll do recurring thing, but we're not doing events like this. And so we had to go to a different card processor. It's a pain in the butt. You have to rewrite the code. You have to get new accounts with all the back-end banks, all that kind of crap. So
best part of that is that they didn't tell me.
Oh, yeah, and they didn't tell us. So, like, they had sent an email. And, like, back in June, it went to spam. We never saw it. And then we tried to, like, do test runs in October, and it was just dead. Like, oh, we sent you an email. I'm like, if we were a normal business, I would be suing your ass. Like, you don't just be like, oh, you can't clear credit cards today. Here's an email, though. Everything's fine. We also have had people say, like, rights of first refusal. Like, if I came in years past, I should be able to come again.
How many people are here for the first time?
Right. So we wouldn't have this. This is like a third of the audience has been here one time. So, we get accused of being a click-a-lot already as it stands, so that would make it actually even worse. Because I assure you we would see like 3 or 4% of the hands up instead of 30 or 40% of the hands up. So even at a technical level, the system that we've built, when you look at the operating system, how it's configured, the web server, the whole deal, there are people buying overseas from cell phones. Okay, people are like, I was on a really fast connection. I'm like, it's a FIFO. Okay, like literally, like if that packet, if somebody on a 56K modem got in there in front of you, they're going to get the ticket before you on your gigabit connection. It's a goddamn FIFO. It's a single thread, right? Like unless you're doing some wacky thread violation thing, and that is epic, and I'll hire you for that shit. You should probably settle down and just realize that you were not in line and fast enough. So that said, We're open to ideas. We're open to different suggestions. But be aware, like, our criteria here is keep it fair. We don't want to keep students out. We don't want to keep people that, maybe can't afford it, but, they're going to scrape it together and make it work. We don't want a non-technologist. Even like for ShmooCon Labs, or even the Shmooza student, we ask the students, hey, tell us about yourself. And the idea is not to get them to, pick the best InfoSec majors. It's just show that you're motivated. Be like, I'm a philosophy major and I think this is fascinating. Cool, come learn. Like, I don't care that you've never taken an InfoSec class. Like, come learn hands-on. Like, that's way more important than be like, well, I do InfoSec, so I should just God's given right. I'm going to go to ShmooCon. No, that's not how this shit works. So, yay! All right. Talk selection. Do I have time? What's this? Does anyone have a schedule card? I printed every one of those goddamn things. When's the next talk start? Woohoo! I got lots of time. All right. I'm going to keep this shortish. You okay? Okay. Our talk selection process, in no particular order, we do have bias in talk selection, and that's on purpose. We want talks that are non-offensive, no F-bombs, no shits. Yeah, really. Shits. No shits. It's actually, you can go to a lot of conferences and hear talks about breaking into stuff. Here's the latest exploit. Here's that kind of thing. That's great, and there's a lot of room for that. We want to try to focus on defensive issues. We want to focus on new ways of thinking about hard problems, stuff like that. There are still offensive talks in the schedule, right? It's not like there aren't any, but we definitely are looking for talks that help push state-of-the-art on defense and awareness and risk and that kind of thing. And so we will bias away from the offensive talks. We do bias toward first-time speakers. And again, it's not to say everybody's a first-timer, but we do look at it. Like, people say, I've never spoken at a conference, or I've never spoken at a security conference. Sometimes you get people who are crossing over. Like, I'm a developer, but now I'm the security guy for this company. I've learned a lot. I'd like to come speak. Great. That factors in. Tool release, something actually that you can hold or do something with, that's useful. As a person who can't write code, I have a lot of respect for that. And I'm always amazed that people come up to my talks where all I'm doing is saying shit and I'm not actually providing you code. Because it's a lot harder to get a takeaway from someone who's just a talking head than someone that can actually sling code or provide some new framework or way of thinking that helps you out. So, and also those that follow directions. Because it turns out things like spell ShmooCon correctly are part of the directions. My favorite are when people start writing in asking for tickets or press passes or whatever, and they spell it wrong. I'm like, no, you don't get it. But it turns out this is an important characteristic, and we don't do it well sometimes, and we hold people accountable. Like, if you can't fill out the form correctly, you don't get to come. The acceptance rate was, I think, about 18%, give or take. What was it? 16%. So there was a lot. It's like 220 some odd talks, 33 got accepted. It's competitive, right? And people are like, well, all the good talks got rejected. I'm like, what? Do you really think that's what the program committee, like a whole group of random people get together and collude, and be like, it turns out collusion is hard, right? It really is. Like, you can't elect a class president without people crying, right? And let alone, like, you try to, what? Couldn't agree on the collusion, right? So the program committee gives their honest feedback, and then we compose it together and you pick the program. So if good talks didn't make it, that means that probably great talks did. And again, we take risks. I mean, the program committee will take risks on some talks because I think it's the best thing to do for the conference and for the community.
But it's also building the program too. Not just the good talks, it's getting the balance across the tracks. So.
Yeah, because we'll see like 4 or 5 talks on a topic, and you're like, well, we can't have 4 or 5, so maybe we'll have 1 or 2 on that topic. So it's really the composed program for the whole conference that comes into play. Sponsors. We heavily limit sponsors. You think it's a hard thing trying to be an attendee of the con? You should try to be a sponsor of the conference. Sponsorship is just like being an attendee. It's a FIFO. It's absolutely right. There's no first rights. There's nothing like that.
We do have to approve the sponsor, but it is first come, first served. We sold out by the end of September this year in sponsorship. Now, that's a full month earlier than any other year. We don't grandfather people in. We don't wait list you. Once I post it up on the website in August, we're open, and there it goes.
So if you're thinking about sponsoring or whatever, just be aware, watch the website for updates, follow Twitter, and we'll announce it. But we really want sponsorship to be a two-way street, right? You see sponsors out there. It's not like, who's been to RSA? Yeah, right. So you go to RSA or any other trade show, and there's big booths and signs and lights and woo, all kinds of fun stuff. That doesn't happen out there, right? Like, we put the sponsors 3 inches away from each other, be like, do something cool with this 6-foot table and the fact that you're pressed up against the wall, go. And they rise to the challenge. And we certainly have first-year sponsors who get confused. They're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, we had was the recruiting firm showed up one year in suits.
No, that was
No, it was like an accounting or something. And they showed up in suits, and they were like standing here on Friday, like all huddled together, like
But on day 2, they showed up in t-shirts.
Yeah, they got the picture. But we want it to be a two-way street because we poo-poo vendors and we yell at them and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, this is all part of the industry that we're in, and we have to find a way to live together and work together and make.
That's what we all work for anyway.
Yeah, and most of us are employed. We have an industry with a negative unemployment, so I believe most of you are employed. And so we try to get the sponsors engaged and hooked up and doing useful stuff. So, again, we treat the sponsors just like we treat the attendees. If you're here early, great. And if you're not, you lose. Press. Same with press. So we don't accept all press requests. We are incredibly selective toward what press we allow in. What's interesting is I think we had way more interest from press this year than in years past. But last year was just like that too. We had way more interest last year than the year prior to that. We bias toward people who understand the industry and reporting on it with an even hand because we think it's important. Because as it turns out, there's a lot of opportunity for FUD in InfoSec reporting. I don't know if you've noticed. But Ted Koppel said the power grid could go down today. So I've got my zombie kit, squirrels, yeah, cyber squirrels. That was my squirrel imitation. Hi. I haven't started dancing yet, but wait till we get to that part of the show. Woo! We also, though, look for people who are motivated and want to break into this space, who we think have that kind of mindset that can report well. For a long time, we didn't really allow press in at all. And then we kind of had this epiphany, like, look, that's actually not doing the best that we can for the community, because there's lots of good things that are said here. There's good ideas, there's presentations, people in the hallway that I think can help frame the state of the union as it pertains to this industry in a way that's helpful for the public to understand what they should be concerned about and what they shouldn't be. And having the press as a productive dialogue to that is important. And that's why we started allowing press in, but that's why we are also then very restrictive about the press we do allow in. We generally do bias against those who are looking for a story. So people are like, hey, what's going on? What's a good story? Like, no, I'm not going to help you make a deadline. Like, that's not how this is going to play out. And we bias against really big media, especially those with television cameras and stuff, because we're probably going to get about a 30-second clip that's going to not be what we want it to be. So, and it's not that we're trying to control the message, but to be honest, not every time, but damn near every time I've ever interacted with the press in this kind of environment, it hasn't gone all that well for me. And I'm not even that big of a dick. So, my favorite was when I was at Booz Allen for a while. Yeah. No, I mean, it was a good company, but I had to get a haircut. I did not, actually. They let me grow my hair down to my waist and worked at Booz Allen. And I gave a talk at Black Hat one of the years I was working there, and I was ranting about some nonsense, and I said, we haven't accomplished a goddamn thing in the last 40 years, which in the stream of expletives coming out of my mouth, that one was actually pretty toned down. Well, Booz Allen PR has a clipping service, and the clipping service, for those of you who don't know, this is a common thing in the industry, that they look for instances of their name, and then they find the words on both sides of it, and they send it to the PR people so they know what people are saying about your company. Well, a reporter said, we haven't accomplished a goddamn thing in the last 40 years, says Bruce Potter, Booz Allen Hamilton. It was like, I hadn't even landed from Vegas, and I got this Dastagram that was like, please refrain from swearing in public when you give presentations. I'm like, wow, I dropped the F-bomb a lot in that talk. Like, good thing they didn't quote that one. I should have said, haven't accomplished a goddamn fucking thing in the last 40 years. Now I have. There we go. Quote that. Independent media. I do have a different employer now, as it turns out. I don't work for myself anymore, so I have to be quiet. Anyway, so at the end of the day, though, we do think positive engagement in the press, even when it's hard conversation, is very important, and that's what we're trying to facilitate. Because it's not all wine and roses, and we're not all doing the right thing, and there are a lot of problems, and people should be concerned about certain things, but we don't need the press working to stir up the public and cause a lot of problems. We'd like the press to be, positive, engaged part of this process, because I get calls from people who are honestly concerned about the absolute wrong things. Right? Like, people are trying to break into my car. I feel it pulling to the side of the road. I think it's my ex-husband, and he's hacked it because I've seen these car hacking stories. I'm like, I think your car's out of alignment, actually. Occam's razor cuts toward that, right? Like, unless your husband is Charlie Miller, then maybe, I don't know. Sorry, Charlie. I'm not saying that you would try to kill anyone. Yikes. I am in rarefied space with that one. ShmooCon Labs. So one of the discussions we had early on with the conference as well was, hey, should we do training? Because you go to conferences, a lot of times there'll be training ahead of the conference, and the problem was, again, we were charging at the time $50 to $100 for the conference on the low end, and it was hard to reconcile. Like, well, you should pay us $2,000 to come and do training, and then pay $50 to stick around for 3 days for the conference. And trainers don't like doing stuff for free necessarily, especially really good training. And we struggle with like how to get hands-on experience and that kind of thing. And what we ended up coming up with a freaking decade ago, and we've been doing it to this day, is ShmooCon Labs. So the idea with the labs is that we take state-of-the-art technology from vendors who donate machines, boxes, software, whatever, and we try to stand up an enterprise-grade, like not screwing around network that has all the intrusion detection and visualization and access control and all that kind of stuff in 36 hours. And there are people who are not screwing around experts in the field doing this, but then you apply to become a part of labs, and then you're like a mentee working underneath them to learn layer 2 networking, wireless, IDS, whatever the thing is, and you get to play with all these big vendor tools. You get to learn from people that have been in the field for years, and we charge you $50 mostly as a showing up fee, right? Because if you make it free, not everybody shows up. You make them pay $50, it's amazing. People will all show up. So, we get $50, we give them T-shirts and things like that in return. And it's been a great success. So if you go all the way down the end of the hall, you can go into labs, you can talk to people in there. They're very open. They're all very excited about what they're learning. They'll talk to you about it. Some of the things we try work. Sometimes they don't. But in general, I think our wireless network is pretty awesome. Like, there's APs freaking everywhere. They get wireline connection to all the vendors. There's all kinds of neat stuff. It's worked out really well. And we try to be, again, as open as we can about this, because we think it's a good model to learn from, and we would hope that other people will be able to carry it forward too. So yay, labs. A few other points, and then I'll let you stand up because it has been like an hour. So Own the Con. This is really our first attempt at transparency, and we've been doing this every year. We provide financial information, attendee information, not like demographics, but how many attendees we have, how many talks, if they're male, female, what the type of talk was, our internal processes, everything about the conference that we think might be of utility to you to know about as an attendee, as a potential conference organizer, as just someone who's in the space to build trust in what we're doing. Because I'll be honest, like, there are things that we've done that haven't gone well. I don't know if you've noticed. We've had some hiccups. But there's a lot of faith from the community, and I think in no small part because we're very transparent about what we do. And there's limits, like I'm not going to give you a root password or something like that, but jerk. Throw down on that challenge. But we do provide as much information as we can so that you can make a decision, are we doing the right thing for you and for the community at large? And we'll take any feedback you have on both those fronts, because we feel pretty passionately about this. That's why we do it. It's not because it's easy. I mean, this is hard to do. Usually a couple days before the con, Heidi and I are both sitting at home like, oh my God, why do we do this? And there's like 1 billion boxes in our house and like 1,000 people, and people are putting recycling in the trash and trash in the recycling. No idea what's going on. Cats and dogs interbreeding, no clue what's going on. And then you come here, and then we go home on Monday. We're like, oh shit, we should do another one of these. You want to do one in the summer? Yeah, let's do one in the summer. If you want to know more than we provide here in the Own the Con, just ask. We'll tell you whatever we can. Heidi's gone around to people who have been starting conferences and talk with them for hours and hours about here's what we do right, here's what we've done wrong, here's what works, and here's why we think it works, so that you can learn from what we do. Did you have something, or are you just... Okay. Creepily. She's creeping. Hi, Mr. Ryan, how are you? What? No, what
Why'd you switch? You're supposed to, you switch sides, but personas you switch too. Like you were supposed to. Oh my God, I lost track. Is this what Congress is like? Okay, this week I get to be Biden. Okay, it's my Biden imitation. Lord, what was it? I'm supposed to say? Okay. What? Okay. Last thing I'm going to say on this general rant. The Shmoo Ball. This is like the impetus of why ShmooCon exists, effectively. So we were at, I think, Black Hat one year. Is Beetle still floating around the room? I saw him floating around somewhere. Beetle, who was a Shmoo member at the time, and I and a few other folks were sitting around. And I don't remember what the talk was, but I remember sitting in the audience and being like, this is such bullshit. Like, this person is just up there saying outright lies, and everyone's sitting back there like, That got the Republican motivated. I was making a point about agriculture bullshit. Anyway, so it's the Iowa caucus. It's coming up soon, so he has to play to his base. Whatever. Anyway, and we're sitting there, and nobody's calling him out, including us. Like, none of us stood up there and were like, hey, that's just wrong, right? What do we do about it? We're like, well, we should run a conference. We can run it better than this. Like, we're at Black Hat thinking, yeah, we could kick ass. And we started planning for ShmooCon, and we were like, we want the conference to be different. We want it to be about discourse. We want it to be about engagement, and trying to hold the speakers accountable, hold the vendors accountable, and hold the attendees accountable. Like let's actually have honest discourse, right? We can have discussions that aren't flame wars, right? You can disagree with people and not hate them. I don't know if you've noticed, but the internet's kind of maybe turned that concept down a little bit, but we can turn it back up. Like, we can argue and still be friends and drink beer. Like, it's okay, or soda, or whatever your whole thing is. And so what we decided to do, I think it was actually the second year. The first year we didn't do it, but the second year, we're like, how do we get people more engaged? And we're like, well, we got to find a way to interact with the speaker. Like, you should put some microphones up and people can come up and ask questions. I'm like, okay, two things happen. One, the people with the really good ideas, sometimes they just don't want to get up and be that person, right? And the person that you don't want to be that person, the person that doesn't have the good ideas, but god damn do they need to hear themselves talk, they're going to be like, excuse me, I have a follow-up question. Like, just stop. No, I'm going to ask Mike. He can have the microphone next. And then you just want to kill the guy at the mic. And then the next guy it's the same, it's his twin, right? Like, it's the guy who does the same thing. And so we came with this idea of like, hey, let's give him something to throw at the speaker. And so we came up with these squishy foam rubber stress balls. Why not? So the thing in your bag is not just a stress ball. It is literally, it's a way of facilitating discourse. If you disagree with the speaker, throw the ball at the person. But be aware, actually the biggest thing, like, so first of all, Shmoo balls can hurt. There was the great Shmoo ball launcher incident of like 2008. That's a thing, by the way. Like, dude made like a pneumatic Shmoo ball launcher and I got tagged straight in the chest. It left a bruise. Like, I mean, it's a lot of kinetic energy. We used somebody was sitting down. This is right after the iPhones came out. There's an iPhone app that you could use to like test the speed of something. And so like some guy got down on the floor and people were throwing balls past the iPhone. And it was like 35, 45 miles an hour. Like, oh, that's pretty accurate. Okay, fire up the cannon. And so the guy gets down there and he's filming. And I'm standing up there like 40 feet away. I'm like, there's no way he's going to hit me. So I'm just like, la. And it was like, who's the dude from was it the James Bond flick? He's like, I am invincible. And then the thing shot. And I got freaking tagged in the chest, and it hurt, and the iPhone said 200 plus miles an hour. Holy God. So, anyway, I would encourage you when you throw them, honestly, the biggest thing to be concerned about are the water glasses and stuff like that. Try to lob them, make a point. Yeah, and we're a little chandelier light here. We were at the Hyatt. The only saving grace with that is the chandelier had so many pieces in it that when 20 or 30 of them fell off, you couldn't really tell. Like, it was, and no one, actually the best part about that is they broke and no one looked up immediately. So
That wasn't a Shmoo ball.
That wasn't. Oh, that's a T-shirt. Oh, that's also why we don't throw T-shirts at closing anymore. So we're why you can't have nice things. Here we just have solid ceilings. So, all right, for now. I'm going to bring in my grandmother's good chandelier next year. Is there a right turn coming? Oh, we're not running late, but I'm going to start to wrap it up. Do you have any final parting?
No, I got nothing.
Okay. So with that, that's the ShmooCon ethos and philosophy in a nutshell, right? I think in general, it's not our normal opening. It's not one we can do every year because you should hear this and tell others like shaman style, so I don't have to repeat this a bunch. Or you know what? You could go to YouTube and watch the video. Or actually, I'm sorry, go to Internet Archive. Right, that's the other thing. So we hosted our own videos for years, even when like bandwidth was like mucho expensive. And Internet Archive has been wonderful and is hosting our videos for us now, so we don't have to pay for bandwidth, and nobody makes any money off your content, right? So, well, I mean, not in the same way. I mean, would you rather have Internet Archive hosting it or? Okay, anyway. Well, at the end of the day, we think the Internet Archive, yay, Internet Archive, is the best place that we can host your data. Yeah. I didn't know Paul Ryan was for personal freedom. Woo. Anyway, it did get a little more political than I intended once I invited the senators on stage. I do have 20 minutes. I'm not going to take 20 minutes. But we really wanted to be able to tell this story about what we think about ShmooCon, and partially due to the changes in the industry at large, right? And I wasn't joking. There's a negative unemployment in this industry. Like, if you have InfoSec or firewall or cyber on your frickin' on your resume, you can get a job, right? I've interviewed people that I didn't think were competent in the least, and they would thank me 3 weeks later and tell me they got a job at like a competitor or something like that. I'm like, really? How's that even possible? A lot of nitrous oxide? Yeah. So, as this industry is more and more money pours into it, it's not that we can relive the past. It's not like we can go backwards and have it the way it used to be. My contention has always been be aware of what we're losing when things change and be aware of the impact that it has on the community. And to me, the reason I do this, and I've done it for 20 years now, is I feel very passionately about making the end user more secure, right? Like, users are dumb, users do all these things. Users just use systems, right? Like, they just want to open their phone, they want to check their mail, they want to buy a fancy thermostat, they want to drive their fancy car, and they just want it to work, right? And they don't know that there's things they shouldn't do, and they shouldn't have to know. At the end of the day, like, users should be as dumb as you want them to be, or as they're able to be, or as God made them, and they should still be able to use things securely. So let's hear it for dumb users. So I think that we are moving away from, as an industry, from that concept, right? As more money is poured into this, as there's more players involved, as there's more political impact, a lot of political impact, right? We got Wassenaar, we got all these other things, international regulations coming to bear. It's getting to be a very complicated space, and we're getting farther and farther and farther away from what I think is building systems that users can use securely, preserving their privacy and all the other characteristics that we care about, right? And I want us to be aware of those things. And so I think that ShmooCon, and the way that we run ShmooCon, maybe is a little old school, but we do that with a purpose because we feel that some of that's being lost. And it's important, at least for a 3-day time period, that we remember what it's like so that when we go to our jobs, maybe we do things a little bit differently. So anyway, with that, welcome to ShmooCon. We'll kick off the next talk in 20 minutes. Other side.